Ahoy there, people, and welcome to our next chapter review for One Piece, manga chapter 1116. The chapter title is Conflict. So I'm guessing we will go back to Egghead and we will start to see how events are leading up to the culmination of the arc. Got a nice cover page continuing Yamato's journey through Wano. Only Child Yamato and the Holy Inari Shrine Pilgrimage, Volume 6, getting medicine and dumplings from Otsuru. So you got Otsuru giving a bag with medicine and dumplings to Yamato. In the Flower Capital, the Yokozuna that Luffy first defeated. When he first got to Wano, he's there, and he's a good guy now. He's happy and he's waving to them as he looks on. Other citizens, random citizens, are just standing around cheering Yamato on and being very happy. So that's nice. And Yamato has a big backpack on. Notes from Oda. Do you have any idea how tasty sablefish is? Last week I had sablefish, sayok, say, sayoyaki for 5 days in a row. That's interesting. So Oda, I guess, really likes sablefish. First found out they really like sablefish. And we're back to the broadcast. A truth hard to swallow. Did he just say that there are world-sinking weapons still out there somewhere? How can an 800-year-old war be ongoing? No one from back then is even alive today. And we've got a shot of Eam wandering through Castle Pangea. Why would a war rage on in total secrecy? And Eam walks up to a framed photo of Nefertari Lily, I'm thinking. Because there wouldn't be a framed photo of Vivi hanging up on the wall in Castle Pangea. So yeah, that's going to be a framed photo of Nefertari Lily. So why is Eam so focused on Lily in particular? Well, Lily would be the one that Eam knows best. The one member of the D clan that Eam has had personal experience and interactions with. So I guess to that end it makes sense. But a framed photo in Castle Pangea and I wait a minute. See, there's so many ways you could go with that. So, a framed picture of Nefertari Lily in Castle Pangea in Eam's room. Lily is dead, so it could be, on one hand, it could be the grudge. The grudge that Eam has against Lily is so strong that the picture is hanging up on the wall to remind Eam of that hatred and that grudge. On the other hand, if we wanted to go with a different route, could it be that Eam actually liked or still likes Lily and Eam is forlorn over the fact that Lily didn't agree with the whole formation of the world government, and maybe that spurned feeling is what's inspiring Eam's hatred towards the D clan. And would that be connected to the use of the ancient weapons? Would Eam be like, wanting to eradicate the D clan. Just basic thoughts. So I should continue reading. How can an 8-year-old, 800-year-old war be ongoing? Known from back then is even alive today. Why would a war rage on in total secrecy? Vegapunk. So we got a close-up of Eam with the sharp piercing eye again. And is Eam screaming Vegapunk? It seems like Eam is screaming Vegapunk from Castle Pangea. Or is it just people? Okay, yeah, I think we've transitioned, yeah. We've transitioned back to this island, a random island looks like that's looking on, and the people on the island are actually the ones screaming Vegapunk. In all sincerity, now we've got a shot of Igaram and Karu crying as Igaram is looking on, and Igaram got a close up of his face and he's crying. He's looking at a poster for Vivi and it says missing Nefertari Vivi. I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart, as there is something else I must confess. And now we're getting a shot of Cobra's funeral or a memorial proceeding. I think it's a funeral because we have what looks like a sarcophagus sitting in the center of the room. We've got Shaka and Pell and the soldiers from the castle. We've got a huge portrait of Nefertari Cobra, and it's hanging on a wall with lots of ornate Egyptian hieroglyphs and decorations around it. I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart, as there's something else I must confess. My goal was always to create an energy source to fuel society's development, and while it remains unfinished, my research has culminated in the Mother Flame. Its power has many practical uses. I'm certain that one day this undying energy can be harnessed to ensure that the world lives in abundance. This breakthrough is marred, however. A small fragment of the flame was stolen. I take full responsibility for this unfortunate event. Decipherable agents are stuck in the middle of... and we're going back to the marine battleships outside of Egghead. Decipherable agents are stuck in the middle of the island? This is bad. They're completely surrounded by flames. Now we've got Stussy. That was quite a tremor. Any idea what's happening, Edison? That spooked me too. The whole gosh darn basement came crashing down with all the Cypherful agents in tow. I can't generate any more clouds for the Straw Hat crew. Came crashing down? How is that possible? Another monstrous elder must be heading up. Stussy, get yourself out of there. Edison, is it okay if I let Kaku go free? Huh? I don't want him to suffer the consequences of this. Don't worry, I won't let him go after the Straw Hats. And I don't think pursuing them will be his priority anyway. Understood, Stussy. Sorry for putting you through all this. It didn't occur to me that they were your friends. Forgive me for making you turn on them. Then we've got a sort of shocked expression from Kaku. Despite being torn between both sides, you still rescued us. That inner conflict of yours is proof of your humanity, Stussy. Do as you please. Just find a way to keep on living. Yes, sir. Stussy's crying and smiling. So this confirms kind of what I was thinking, reading through the last chapter. Stussy likes the other Cypherpole agents. And she liked living as a Cypherpole, perhaps like living as in her undercover status as a Cypherpole agent. And she had conflict with turning on them. And it seems like Kaku probably sensed that, which explains why he was just has a sort of shocked expression on his face and is completely silent watching this all go on from inside the bubble. So after the events of Egghead, I'm guessing Stussy will stick with the other Cypherpole agents. Two weeks after the flame fragment was stolen, we observed an intense glow emitting from above the kingdom of Lucia. And now we're here with the Revolutionary Army, the ones that escaped from the Lucia. The Lucia? I later got the news that the entire nation had mysteriously vanished without a trace. Before long, my equipment registered the worldwide earthquakes I mentioned earlier. This might be my pride as a scientist talking, but I was certain of one fact. Now we've got... Okay, we're still looking at... Who's this guy? I guess he's still... I think he might be... He's not... Maybe he is Navy. Or royalty of some kind? Not entirely sure. An ancient weapon did that? Why would someone do that to Lelucia? And we've got Rose or Rosa from Lelucia. She's listening to the broadcast and crying. Why would someone do that to Lelucia? Only the Mother Flame could supply the immense energy needed to cause this tragedy. Lucia is gone? This is the first we're hearing about this. Hurry and confirm it. Yes, sir. We've got the King... What was his name? El Bazo from Dressrosa, the king with that punch, that super strong punch that he has to charge for a long time. And his Vizier advisor guy, they're learning that Elucia was destroyed and trying to confirm it. My very own invention was used to power an ancient weapon. The motives and origin of the perpetrators are a mystery to me, but in the end it all boils down to one hard truth. I am an accessory to this act of mass murder. I cannot express how remorseful I am for my part in this. I'm truly sorry. And we have Vegapunk bowing deeply, putting his head to the ground as he apologizes. But this proves my theory is plausible. The disaster that flooded the world was man-made. Vegapunk, it's not your fault. And here we have the people from Vegapunk's original home island looking on at the broadcast. Now we're back at Wano. We've got Momonosuke and Kinemon pressing their heads against each other, leaning in, trying to listen closer to the Denden Mushi. Huh? Then Pluton is? Shush. Lord Momonosuke. Now we got a shot of Crocodile. There were once 3 great ancient weapons. It is said that Joy Boy attempted to ensure that they would be passed on to future generations. That begs the question, why hasn't the world sunk enough? Such ambiguity makes it hard to brand one side just and the other evil. But the day of answers is coming. Now we've got Sengoku and Suru. Sengoku is chowing down on rice crackers, listening very intensely. You're gonna choke, idiot. Consider this a warning. When that time comes, everyone will fear the notion of a sunken world. The Void Century is still an enigma, but there are those who know what happened in its entirety. Now we've got Marine HQ. Everything. You're going to explain everything. Vegapunk. We've got Akainu looking very intense. He's turning into magma and smoke is coming out of his mouth. And looks like he's almost crushing something in his hand. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe he's just making a fist. I am referring to the former members of the Pirate King's crew. Huh? And we got massive shock reaction from some of the Marines listening in on this. Pirates know? How? We got a shot of Crocus with the Lamute in the background. Crocus is completely silent. Why would pirates know the world's secrets? Isn't that dangerous? We got, is this the Long Arm Tribe? Yes, it looks like it's the Long Arm Tribe. And looks like those Long Arm Tribe members that were managing Soul King Brook during his musical career. Now we've got York. Hang on. How is that possible, Stella? How could you have known about me stealing the fragment of the Mother Flame? I cut off my memory synchronization. It should have been impossible. Not only that, but I know for a fact you're a terrible liar and a lousy actor. You were genuinely surprised, huh? You were genuinely surprised, right? And York is remembering when Vegapunk was surprised that York was the traitor. York, this is all you're doing? You got news about Lucia and took readings? What does that mean? When? The timeline doesn't add up. You must have known the government's plans. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done all this. You wouldn't have hidden the broadcast snail. Elders, I worked out where the broadcast snail is. Are you certain? We've got the elders listening into the broadcast. York communicating to them through radio. Are you certain? Without a doubt. I'm a Vegapunk too. The snail is in the Fabrio stratum. Nothing's working. The Iron Giant is guarding it. Got a shot of the Iron Giant walking, and looks like cannonballs are being fired at it. Perhaps the Marines are still trying to destroy it, but what are they talking about? The Iron Giant is guarding. Maybe it's guarding the Straw Hat ship? Or... And we finally get to see Shepard in his worm form. It looks like he's sucking up Cypherpol agents. I guess he's still focused on the other part of the Elders' mission, which is to kill everyone on the island. And I guess he's starting with a Cypherpol agent for some reason. I'm sure they knew our entire lost history, so why? Why would they just fade away without telling a soul? Why didn't they act? Rei-san. Now we're back to Shaba Ondi. Got Shaki. Haven't you had enough booze? You rarely get this wasted. Ugh. I'm old and washed up now. Just like Vegapunk here, blabbering old geezer who's already said too much. Don't be an ass and take it away from the youngsters. The thrill is theirs to seek now. Right, Roger? Clunk and Vegapunk, Rayleigh, sets his glass on the table, and he's laying his head on the table. Those who knew the truth just laughed. That's the end of the chapter. Break next week. So, quite a bit more exposition in this chapter. Vegapunk is really, really, really driving home the point that he is not making a judgment on good and evil, and he is imploring everyone in the world that is listening to the message not to make this judgment of good and evil. I'm thinking there might be a lot more meaning to this than just Vegapunk trying to maintain neutrality as a scientist and encourage that in others. I think that perhaps Vegapunk learned something that changed his mind from making a judgment that the world government is entirely evil, because when you think back to Vegapunk's past, he made a deal with the world government to become a scientist for the sake of to become a scientist for the sake of the betterment of humanity, because he would have the resources and funding to create everything he's trying to create during his lifetime for the benefit of humanity. He saw the horrors of the world government wiping out Ohara. Well, he did witness them. he didn't witness them in person, but he was friends with Professor Clover and he mourned Professor Clover's death. Knowingly he knowingly acted against the world government by preserving the notes from O'Hara and picking up on O'Hara's studies, trying to continue those studies on his own in secret against the orders of the world government. At this time, when he did that, he must have borne at least a little bit of resentment towards the world government and perhaps a thought that the world government is not good. And he knowingly kind of set those feelings aside to continue his research. And again, the case with Kuma, killing Kuma at the behest of the world government. Once again, another atrocity committed by the world government. Vegapunk witnessed it. And in this one, he was involved very deeply on a personal level. And he would have to hold an even stronger resentment for the world government after the events with Kuma. So, at what point during his research did he learn at what point in his research did he learn enough to form his hypothesis about the events of the Void Century and what that means to the current world, what that has meant for the 800 years from the end of the Void Century to present time? What did he learn that allowed him to have enough information to form the hypothesis? Because I think something in that information is where we'll find what convinced Vegapunk that if he were ever to tell the world all this information, he must also tell them not to make harsh judgments about either side and labeling one side or the other as good or evil. And the one thing that he makes note of in this chapter is the thing that a lot of people have noticed is, why hasn't the world sunken further in the 800 years since the end of the Void Century? The ancient weapons have existed for all this time. People have been in pursuit of them for all this time. They may have even been in the possession of people on either side of the war that exists during that 800-year time period, and yet the world hasn't sunken a whole lot further, which you would think would happen if every few generations or so someone gets possession of the ancient weapons and starts using them and causing damage, and the world would sink a little bit more. And over 800 years, that would have to happen at least a few times, a significant number of times, enough that the world should be much more flooded than it currently is. So the question then becomes, During this 800 years, did any other people ever have access or discover the ancient weapons? Were they ever used? They had to have been used somewhat. Let's see. Because the world has continued to sink, right? I believe the world has been continuing to sink. That's what Vegapunk said. It's just at a slow rate currently, while the weapons are not being used. Vegapunk does confirm also that there are 3 ancient weapons, so no more than 3, it seems. Not even back then, 900 years ago during the war, so there've always been only 3 ancient weapons. Only 3 ancient weapons. Vegapunk also confirmed that Joy Boy was preserving the ancient weapons to be passed down to future generations. Passed down to future generations. Joy Boy wanted the weapons to be passed down. Why? Why would Joy Boy want the ancient weapons to be passed down onto future generations? And we know that Joy Boy succeeded because the ancient weapons still exist to this day. Then Pluton is buried under Wano. No. Yeah, Pluton is buried under Wano. Neptune or Poseidon is Fishman Island. And we don't know where Uranus is. Three ancient weapons. Joy Boy was first pirate. Joy Boy, the first pirate, wanted the ancient weapons to be preserved and passed down to future generations. This is obviously in defiance of the world government, or in defiance of the world government, the allied powers that eventually became the world government. Is that why Joy Boy was labeled a pirate? Because he wanted to ensure the ancient weapons being passed down to future generations. That made him a pirate. Or we have to keep in mind that the world governments are masters of propaganda. Was it propaganda that Joy Boy wanted to pass down the ancient weapons to future generations? Is it propaganda from the world government? Maybe it was the world government that wanted to see the weapons preserved so that there would be a chance in the future of the world government taking control of the ancient weapons. But it seems like the world government didn't. It seems like the world government did not really. It seems like the world government's priority was to make sure the weapons were not found and not revived or used. On one hand, on the other hand, the more power hungry and morally bankrupt members of the world government would want to see the weapons in their possession, in possession of the world government, or more to the point in their personal possession, so that they could use the weapons for whatever they want. Because when we think back to the events of Enies Lobby, Frankie had the blueprints. Blueprints for Pluton, which is a ship. Yeah, the blueprints for Pluton, which is a ship. He destroyed those blueprints. Spandam and Cerebral Nine's mission was to recover the blueprints. Their mission wasn't to make sure that the blueprints were destroyed, they were to recover the blueprints. So that the world government could build an ancient weapon. So, thinking back to that, but then we don't know. Let's see, Cypherful Nine's orders were coming from, yeah, they were coming directly from the elders. The elders wanted possession of Pluton's blueprints so that they could build Pluton. Then we go to Tom. Tom wanted the blueprints to be passed down. Tom wanted the weapons to survive. He wanted Pluton to survive. And the reason Tom gave and was that the blueprints of Pluton needed to be passed down and preserved. In the event that people that could read the poneglyphs used that knowledge to activate other ancient weapons, that Pluton would be needed for people to build so that they could fight that force. Okay. And Thinking about it, Pluton is a special case here, isn't it? Being a ship, there is the Pluton, at least my understanding so far, unless I'm misremembering, is there is the weapon itself, Pluton, exists buried under Wano. That is a constructed and activatable Pluton. Then there were the blueprints to Pluton, which were also preserved, so that in theory, someone could build another Pluton. If the first Pluton, the existing Pluton, is ever activated, they could use the blueprints to build a counter weapon, another Pluton, to destroy or maybe repel the first Pluton. That is my understanding. And that's why Tom wanted to preserve the blueprints as a security measure. And Iceberg wanted to too. Franky wanted to. Then Franky saw that Robin was not trying to revive the ancient weapons, that Robin didn't care at all about the ancient weapons, so there was no threat from Robin, at least. And Robin was the only person in the world, the only known person in the world at the time who could possibly read the poneglyphs and activate the ancient weapon. So with the knowledge that Robin, A, personally didn't want to destroy the world using ancient weapons, and B, she had people that would protect her so that she would never be taken by the world government or any other evil faction that would force her to use her ability to read the poneglyphs and force her to activate the ancient weapons. Knowing those two things, that she didn't want to do it herself, and there were people that would protect her so she wouldn't be forced to do it by some oppressive evil force, then Franky destroyed the blueprints to Pluton. So now the only Pluton that exists, or could possibly exist, is the existing Pluton that's buried under Wano. Though Franky probably has read the blueprints, and he may have knowledge that he could maybe construct a Pluton of his own, possibly in the future one day. So maybe Franky could build a Pluton, or a Pluton-like weapon. Then there is Ancient Weapon Poseidon. Poseidon is a lot more difficult to kind of theory craft around because it's a living being. It's a genetic inheritance from the Neptune bloodline. So, in theory, the way to destroy the ancient weapon Poseidon would be to kill off the entire Neptune bloodline. Would that be how it works? Kill off that bloodline and the weapon is gone from the world forever? Or is it something that just happens at random? So it could be any random mermaid that is born on Fishman Island could potentially be a reincarnation of Poseidon. I'll have to go back to look at the Fishman Island information and figure out if it's... I believe that they did specifically state that it was the royal bloodline. if they did specifically state that, then it would mean that yes, if you killed off the entire Neptune bloodline, you would put an end to the possibility of the ancient weapon Poseidon ever existing in the world again. In theory, at least. So that's what I'm going to go with on Poseidon. So, to that end, Joy Boy preserved the weapon Poseidon by protecting the mermaid princess. That ensured that weapon would survive into the future. There's still that mystery about the Noah and what it means and what promise Joy Boy made. Now we know that maybe he made a promise to the princess and there were multiple parts to the promise, and one part was that he would protect the ancient weapon, the princess, and make sure that she lived and that her family would continue into the future. So that could be part of the promise. A. Then another part of the promise could be the promise relating to the Noah. And we have no information on Uranus, the third insert weapon. Also, that takes the idea of this giant, this iron giant, and Zunisha being ancient weapons. It takes that off the table, but it does keep them being companions of Joy Boy. It keeps that squarely on the table. So, companions of Joy Boy, maybe Joy Boy's crew, or members of the ancient kingdom that were friends of Joy Boys, and so, and then the question: weapons were preserved. They've existed and probably been used, which explains why the world has continued to sink. Then there's the emu element. We haven't seen what emu's goal is, but we know that emu is that wiping out the D clan. That seems to be a goal for emu. And is controlling the world a goal? Controlling the ancient weapons is a goal, but that is just a means to an end for wiping out the D clan. And I suppose maintaining control of the world comes along with that too, because you would need control of the world to wipe out the entire D clan. But then there's that whole thing about which light needs to be extinguished. The elders referring to D clan. To Emu, which light needs to be extinguished. Emu is the judge that decides which light needs to be extinguished, and that is for the purpose of preserving the world. And then the question becomes, preserving the world, does that mean does preserving the world mean preserving be status quo and the power structure of the world government, or are they speaking literally in preserving the world, as in keeping the planet from being destroyed or damaged? So that is another point to consider. What is Eames' goal here? Then the pirates. The pirates knew, specifically Gold Roger's crew. They knew the entire lost history. Because, of course, at Raftel, where the One Piece is, the entire lost history of the world was there, including Joy Boy's story. Roger mentioned Joy Boy by name, laughed at it, and said, I wish I lived during your time. I wish I had a chance to meet you, basically. Hmm. Vegapunk is questioning, why didn't the pirates act? Or would they learn the entire lost history and not tell the world? Not tell the world that it was in danger, not tell the world that it was sinking, not tell the world that it is under threat of destruction, basically. The annihilation of life on the planets, perhaps hanging in the balance. And the pirates did not tell. For what purpose would they not tell? Why didn't they act? Haven't you had enough booze? Really drinking at Shaki's bar. Really doesn't want Vegapunk to tell the secret. Don't take it away from the youngsters. The thrill is theirs to seek now. Right, Roger? The secret of the world. And maybe Vegapunk, perhaps Vegapunk's notion about not judging the people, the ancient people, both sides of the war, as good or evil, not judging either side as good or evil. Does that link to the decision that the Roger Pirates made? Because the Roger Pirates, Rayleigh tells the Straw Hats, maybe when you guys find Raftel and find the One Piece, maybe you'll come to a different conclusion than we did. And would that conclusion be in regards to both sides of the ancient conflict, or just what to do with the knowledge? But we do, I mean, this has been confirmed since Vegapunk first started speaking in the broadcast, but the Roger Pirates learned that the world was sinking, that the world was going to be destroyed as part of what they found when they found the One Piece. They laughed. What? So, I think it's safe to say They didn't laugh at the idea that the world was sinking. That part is not what made them laugh. Something made them laugh. It had to be something absurd. Joy Boy. Was it just the tale of Joy Boy? The tale of Joy Boy's life, what he did and why he did it that made them laugh? Because Joy Boy. Maybe, but the absurdity of the treasure itself, the absurdity of Joy Boy, or the absurdity of the nature of the world itself. Maybe all three. The whole thing is absurd. But it's hard to say that. But it kind of makes sense because the One Piece is, it has to be something related to, has to relate to freedom in a sense. And freedom would mean freedom to do whatever you want, to choose whatever you want. So the information learned in the One Piece, it can't be something that, yeah, it can't be something that forces you down a single path. It can't be a prescription that you must do X because that's not freedom. Freedom is when you find the One Piece and learn what you learn. It at that point, it's up to you. You choose what to do next. You are free to choose. You're free to think what you want, to take whatever action you like, and you are the king of the pirates. You are free, the freest person on the sea. So, to that end, One Piece can't be, the entire treasure on Raftel can't be a prescription to do something, a command or order. It could maybe suggest something lightly, suggest a course of action, and the person that finds it is free to either heed the suggestion or ignore it. But then, I mean, I suppose you can kind of marry that with the idea that the world is in danger, in jeopardy, it's at risk of being destroyed. There's a war that has been raging on, and the result of this battle, this war, is that the world itself is under threat of being destroyed. There must be a way to stop the war. But, well, is it that simple? Let's see. Destroy all the ancient weapons. Ancient weapons no longer exist on the planet. Does that end the war? No, because the people still exist, right? They can just use other methods. They can just use other methods to create and increase their military might. They can still use devil fruits and really well trained soldiers with hockey. So yeah, destroying the ancient weapons wouldn't stop the war. Especially if the end goal of the war for Emu is the eradication of the D clan. But the eradication, the destroying ancient weapons, in theory, does stop the world from being in danger of flooding any further. So if the world government's goal is actually to stop the world from flooding, then destruction of the ancient weapons would theoretically mean that threat is gone. And if the world government is concerned with that threat, then they no longer have to take actions based on trying to prevent that threat. So does that mean the world government becomes more lax and isn't so concerned about pirates existing and they're no longer so oppressive? But it seems like that wouldn't be the case, but maybe outside possibility. World government goals could be to eradicate the clan, could be to protect the planet from destruction. So we're heading into another break week, which is good because there is quite a bit to speculate. This is one of those chapters where you'll have to go back and look at various points in the story to refresh information and make sure that the connections are fresh in your mind to connect that information from previous chapters to what we learn in the current chapter, specifically or particularly regarding the ancient weapons, which I have sort of attempted to do here in this review, thinking it through in my mind. But details are a little murky, which is why going back to the old chapters and reading them over is good for clarifying things. So what we are looking at is a question. Why hasn't the world sunk more? Now the obvious answer would be that both sides would have a vested interest in not seeing the world continue to sink. Even if they do, even if they are at war. So to that end, they would try to keep the weapons from being used. So is this kind of like a Cold War situation where the threat of each side using the ancient weapons kept the other side from using the ancient weapons? A Cold War situation, even though it's never a guarantee that either side is in possession of the weapon and it's fully activated and usable. then going back to the Wano question, the Kozuki clan created the poneglyphs. Was it because Joy Boy asked them to? In order to preserve the ancient weapons for future generations, Joy Boy had the Kozuki clan create the poneglyphs. Because the poneglyphs are indestructible, so the poneglyphs will always survive to future generations, and the information written on them can eventually be transferred to those future generations, which would be instructions on how to find and activate ancient weapons. And in that way, ancient weapons are preserved for the future always. That lines up. That tracks and makes sense. I don't think it's confirmed why previously in the story why the Kozuki clan created the poneglyphs. That will be one more chapter to go back and look at. The chapters where they explain the creation of the poneglyphs by the Kozuki clan. Then, and also we are leading up to the point York. We didn't even get into the Mother Flame. But a piece of the Mother Flame was taken. And that piece of the Mother Flame that was taken by York is what Yin is using to power the weapon that destroyed Elucia. And it's not a outright confirmation, but it seems like a sort of confirmation, sort of half confirmation that Uranus was what destroyed Elucia. Because Pluton is buried under Wano. You have to keep that in mind. So it can't be Pluton. So it has to be Uranus. It's being powered by the Mother Flame. This also confirms that the Mother Flame can't be an ancient weapon, right? So it's not an ancient weapon. Mother Flame is an invention. He said using the knowledge, Vegapunk said using the knowledge he created the Mother Flame. Hmm. Anything else? Creating the Mother Flame. Hmm. He doesn't use the word invented or created the Mother Flame, but my research has culminated in the Mother Flame, which means the eventual end result of his research was the Mother Flame. That could mean invention. Did Vegapunk invent the Mother Flame? He said that the ancient kingdom did not have infinite energy. But he studied the ancient kingdom, so maybe, yes, his study of the technology of the ancient kingdom is what resulted in the Mother Flame. It's a power source based on the power source of the ancient kingdom, the power used in the ancient kingdom. And a piece of it, York stole a piece of it and gave it to the world government. So the Mother Flame of the world government has is not the full Mother Flame, but why wouldn't they be in possession of Vegapunk's Mother Flame? And where is it? Vegapunk's Mother Flame. So Vegapunk's Mother... Okay. Vegapunk's Mother Flame is the Mother Flame in the chamber that we saw in the last chapter, and get a shot of it in this chapter too. So that is the true full Mother Flame. So the Mother Flame we saw on the ship, the mobile Mother Flame that we saw destroying Elucia, that Mother Flame is a stolen piece, small fragment. So this confirms that the Mother Flame can be divided. But then the question is, does the size of the fragment actually matter? Is it a case where the mass is irrelevant? If you take a piece of the Mother Flame, that is another Mother Flame, basically. It becomes a second Mother Flame, equal and able to generate that same level of undying energy as the Mother Flame. So basically, you split it, and it splits into two, and now you have two Mother Flames. Or is it a situation where if you take a small piece of the Mother Flame, you only get a small percentage of that power? I'm thinking maybe it's the latter, but that doesn't make sense, because if it's infinite energy, you can't subtract from infinite and create a small piece of it, a piece of infinity that is smaller than infinity. So if the Mother Flame is infinite energy, and you take a piece of that infinite energy, that little piece of infinite energy that you're taking is not a little piece of infinite energy, it's infinite energy. So maybe it's not infinite. Vegapunk keeps referring to it as infinite energy that the Mother Flame creates, but do we know for a fact that it is truly infinite energy? Maybe it's just so much energy, it's incalculable at this point. So it is infinite energy in essence, without being truly infinite energies, just because we don't know the limit. That could be the case. Either way, I'm thinking it has to be a situation where a piece of the Mother Flame is not as good as having the whole Mother Flame, because that creates the goal the world government has, the elders on the island, of not destroying the lab. Because if having a piece of the Mother Flame is the same as having the Mother Flame itself, then they could just destroy the Mother Flame on Egghead, because they already have a piece in their possession. So they already have a Mother Flame in their possession. But if it's a matter of the full of the piece of Mother Flame not being as good as the whole Mother Flame, then it makes sense to get the Mother Flame and use it to power the ancient weapon, infinite energy, so they can always use it. And wait a minute, yes, the piece of the Mother Flame is, well, I guess maybe it is still it is still a high energy output, but I'm just remembering that the elders mentioned the device, the Mother Flame device, having to charge. And that charge could be just a limitation of the machinery itself needing to charge the energy, rather than the Mother Flame needing to charge, or the piece of the Mother Flame that the Emu has needing to charge. It could be that, or it could just be machine limitations. But that's kind of going a little bit into the weeds about the Mother Flame when we don't have all the information regarding it. We just have more information than we had previously. So I think that's going to be it for this review. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and comment and subscribe. It's going to be very interesting going through the break and then seeing where things pick up, because I think we're going to get at least a little bit more revelation about the nature of the world before I think I'm going to venture a guess. It might be wrong that over the next 1 or 2 chapters, we're going to finally reach the point where the transponder snail is destroyed. The Dendamushi that Vegapunk hidden is destroyed, and the broadcast is cut off. I'm still holding out that there might be a cliffhanger in the broadcast, that Vegapunk is about to drop some other really big bit of lore, and it gets cut off right before he drops it. I feel like that's probably going to be appropriate for this. But at this point, it's hard to kind of guess what the big thing could be, because there's a lot of information that he dropped. Vegapunk said from the outset that he doesn't know everything, and he's trying to avoid information that he hasn't confirmed for himself or doesn't have a solid hypothesis on. In terms of the Ancient Kingdom stuff, he's only going with stuff that he has pretty much been able to confirm. So no speculation there. And Akainu said Vegapunk is going to reveal everything. He was worried about that. That also showed that Akainu knows quite a bit as head of the Navy, the Marines. So, did he seem... So he doesn't seem to be... Maybe he was surprised, or maybe he wasn't. But he didn't seem like he was surprised about the news that the world was sinking. It seemed like he was more surprised that Vegapunk was getting that news out to the world. Maybe? But everything indicates that there is still something. I think we can rule out that Vegapunk knows stuff about Eames' identity, because he knows that Let's see. He knows that the war existed 900 years ago, and the war is still going on today, being carried out by, I'm guessing Vegapunk is assuming it's descendants of the people from both sides of the war 800, 900 years ago. But that's getting off into the weeds again. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and comment and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye bye.